So rites have very specific harmonic concordances that you have to follow or you don't plug into the program, right? The numbers and recounting are done in a particular order so that you can affect the archetype to come out, right? So how can you translate something like that into a physical thing? Like how could you do a ritual and then see an effect, right? It's a good question. The answer is you have to do it, and then you have to do it again, and then you have to do it again, and then you have to do it some more, right? So you guys can come in, there's like a chair up here, you can just sit wherever is comfortable. There's one chair up there and maybe like a bench. You can pull out the piano bench too. Sure. So there's a really important component of ritual, which is the action itself, right? Because it's one thing to read. You guys can. How many of you guys have read a bunch of books about magic and rituals? Right? And then how many of you guys have actually done rituals? Okay, so what do you guys think? Who's going to be better? Someone that watched like 20,000 Kung Fu movies? Or someone that did Kung Fu for like 20 years? Yeah, right? So there's a component to the action, to the doing, that's very important to whether or not the ritual is going to go. And the whole thing with magic is that it's formulated and seated all within thought, all within consciousness, all within your mind, right? But if you don't do anything, it will stay in the thought world, in your brain. It's like people who think about calling you 20,000 times, but then they don't call you, and then you're mad, and now you don't like that person anymore, right? If they don't actually do it, the magic doesn't go. But once they do it, you're like, oh, I love you, you're so great, right? Thanks for calling. So there's this really good quote to that effect. I have lots of good quotes, but this one says, this is from The Ritual of Transcendent Magic, and it's by Eliphas Levi. Eliphas Levi wasn't his real name. He was actually this white guy that took a Jewish name because he thought that Jews were awesome. And had a lot of magic, so he gave himself a Jewish name so that people would think he was the Magi. It's a pretty good trick, really. But he was actually a white guy that was friends with this French guy named Papou, which Papou was his real name, and that's a pretty good name. So this quote says, every intention which does not assert itself. Come on in, you guys. There's some room up here if you can squeeze through everybody. You can sit on the table too, I don't care. It says, every intention which does not assert itself by deeds is a vain intention. And the speech which expresses itself is idle. The speech which does not express itself is idle speech. It is action which proves life and establishes will. We must act in order to be. We are concerned no longer with theories and abstractions. We approach realities. Right? We approach realities. So you guys can do stuff in your mind, and obviously that's a very important thing and a very important part of it. But if it doesn't aggregate around an action, if you can't do something to make it formulate in reality, it will only stay in the ether, and you'll only be a woulda, coulda, shoulda bit, right? So the importance of ritual and of performing it over and over and over again is to add strength, condensation, and crystallization to your will. To your will. You know, I get a lot of people that'll say, like, you know, I did this magic and it didn't work, nothing happened. And I'll say, well, like, you know, what did you do? And they'll be like, oh, well, you know, I sat down, I did this thing for like 5 minutes, and then I lit the candle, and I didn't get a bunch of money. I lit the voodoo candle that I got at the Botanica that said, bring me money, and I lit it, and I didn't get money. So that means magic doesn't work, right? No, no, no. Now, if they had bought the candle from someone who was a magician that made the candle with intention, that chanted over the candle, that made it under a certain planetary influence, that followed the rules, I guarantee that money candle would work. Would you guys think that the candles they sell at the Botanica have been charged? You gotta charge it. You gotta amplify it. You gotta say money, 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 money. Which I don't recommend, because then you're amplifying yourself to money, which is usually not such a good idea. Because then King Midas, don't forget the King Midas story, right? So the mechanism for the ritual to happen is actually in the repetition, in the doing, in the action, in the counting, in the doing and the redoing, right? There is a component of religion, they call it practice. Practice. Practice has act in it. Act. You gotta do. You gotta do. You practice music. You practice religion. You practice ritual. Right? How many of you guys that are musicians, come on in, ever got a song totally awesome on the first go? No. Ever. Yeah, what? Yeah! But after you've been playing music for how long? Years and years and years and years, right? Or no? Was it after a super long time of being a musician?
No.
Okay, well, you're an exception to the rule. Generally, you got to do it again and again and again, right? To have it flow, to have it go. And that's the thing. A lot of people think, well, how can it be spontaneous? How can it be like this heartfelt thing if you have to do it over and over and over again? Well, any of you have ever done a performance? That word perform. Perform is related to practice, right? A performance is something that you do again and again and again and again. Like a play, like acting, right? Like actors. Like think about Shakespeare actors. How many times do you think the Shakespeare program has been put into the little slot? It's almost like karaoke now, right? Where a lot of it is like people singing Stairway to Heaven. But when an actor has done the performance enough times that they're actually acting and practicing that archetypal program, then it's got mojo. Then it's good. Then crazy stuff happens to the actor where like Macbeth stuff will happen in their life. Have you guys ever talked to an actor where they start to be the thing that they're acting when they do it over and over and over? How many of you musicians have played a song enough times that thing happens and it shows up in front of your door? That's proof that ritual works, right? Right there. If you guys have ever experienced that, that's when magic works. When you have performed the thing enough times that you become the thing, that's when you become a ritualist, right? Through that action. And that thing with performing also has the word form in it. So we're carrying it into being. How can you have like this weird thought in your head and make something real? That's crazy, right? What? How can you think something and then it goes? Sometimes that just happens anyway, right? Synchronicity. But if you think about something over and over and over and over and over, like think about, oh my God, that cute guy, that cute guy, that cute guy, that cute guy, and then all of a sudden, oh my God, I just ran into that cute guy on the street. Crazy, right? But you've just been ritualistically thinking about this person over and over and over. So is it crazy or is it magic? Ritualistically. Because you're doing that thing over and over, right? So it's an aggregation that translates to the physical world. Totally translates to the physical world. And one of my absolute all-time favorite examples of how this stuff aggregates is weather magic. Weather magic. Rain dancing. The best ever rituals are ones that make the weather change. Okay, because let's say you're doing like a love ritual, which I don't necessarily recommend either, to try and make somebody love you, right? And you do it, and you do it, and you do it, and it works. And then the person comes, and you're like, wee, for whatever, however amount of time. And then it might get weird, because now they're stalking you, and they won't leave you alone, and now you want to go date somebody else, because you like somebody else. But oh no, now I've tied myself to this person and bonded them to me, right? Okay, so that's like a person. But what about if you can aggregate yourself to such a level that you can actually attract not just a person, but rain clouds to you through repetition of a performance of a ritual? This is something that has been done around the world, extending back into human history, making weather change. You guys know this? This isn't like something you just read about in fairy tales, but it actually happens in real life. It happens so much. This is one of the stupidest things ever. The federal government of the United States of America made it illegal for Native Americans to perform rain dance rites. Do you guys know that?
Yeah.
Again, a federal freaking offense to perform a rain dance. Now this is, first of all, an acknowledgement from the government that this is a viable form of practice. Because if they're like, ooh, magic, why would they make a law that you can't do it? They would just say, who cares? Dance all you want. Go nuts. Do a little, whatever. Why would they make a federal offense against rain dances? Because it works. One of my all-time favorites, this happened in 2009, and this is in the news on the internet, you can look it up. It was in Albuquerque, New Mexico, on the 29th of May. A Pueblo Zuni tribe was performing a rain dance, and a bolt of lightning came down out of the sky while they were in their circle. They made a fire, and then they put all the kerosene tanks, they lit the fire within a shed that was very close by to where they were doing the dance. The lightning came and struck the shed and blew up all the kerosene and made everything light on fire. And then it started to rain while they were in the middle of doing the dance. Okay? And I like how they reported on the news, they said, listen to this, a freak lightning storm during a rain dance. How is it freak? That's what they were doing. It's purposeful, that's the point, right? A freak lightning storm during the rain dance caused lightning to blow up the kerosene which they used to make the fire to do the rain dance. Maybe the lesson there is to not use fire when you're doing a rain dance. I don't know. Right? Maybe because they used fire, it made the water gods mad. I don't know. And they were like, oh yeah, you want to use fire for rain? Check that out. Jerks. So the fact that you can utilize those kind of things, and if you look at someone that's doing the Stairway to Heaven karaoke, I know it can really make you not believe in magic, but you have to understand that there are varying degrees and levels based on the practitioner and the performer's ability to aggregate and amplify through the ritual and repetition, right? Through the performance. And how many times have they performed, right? The yoga dudes, this is a pretty good little book. It's the Shambhala Encyclopedia of Yoga by George Feuerstein. And you guys know yoga is totally ritual, right? Except for the philosophical yoga, which isn't very fun. It just makes your head hurt. So every time you do an asana, You're repeating with your body an action that's been done for like thousands of years. When you guys do your little sun salutations at Bikram or whatever, your body is going into the shape of the body of like millions and millions of Indian people for over thousands and thousands of years. So that specific program has got a lot of mojo.
And mammals.
And mammals too, downward dog, right? So this is a program that you can tap into that has accumulated strength through repetition, right? Because not only does the magician's ability to do it contain the mojo, but the act itself and its length and its strength contains the mojo as well. Like, what rite are you doing? Do you think the Scottish rite of Freemasons are doing their own rites? No, they lifted the Egyptian ones because those have way more strength and way more mojo, right? They're picking the rite because it has accumulated strength. If you guys are musicians, you'll find there's certain chords that contain more strength than other chords, right? Certain combinations or harmonies will have way more strength than other ones. Do you guys think that's an accident? No. No. Are they, if they're fifths, then they're corresponding to like Pythagorean mathematical numbers, which are they're recounting 5, or the golden rectangle. So you tap into chords that repeat golden rectangle numbers, and now your amplification reaches another level, right? Because it's more ancient, more mojo, right? So the yoga guys, they have this thing that they do called, I'm going to say it wrong, I'll just go anyway, Parashkaranya. And this is how you prepare to do yoga, and then you do it while you're doing the yoga. And you basically recite mantras. You recite mantras. And you do it over and over and over and over and over. How many of you guys have ever done chanting, like mantra chanting? How many of you guys felt it? Yeah. It's so good, right? You can chant for like 5 minutes and you'll start to feel it. So think about if you chant a mantra, what do you guys think would happen if you chant the same mantra for like 10 years? Do you guys think that would like amplify? Yeah. You guys know what they say? They say, those Buddhists say, that if you want enlightenment, you guys know what one of the recipes is? Chant the Om Mani Padme Hum 6 million times. That's it. It doesn't matter what else you do in your life. You can do whatever. Like, who knows? Eat McDonald's, do whatever you want. But if you say the Om Mani Padme Hum 6 million times, that's it. You're good. That's all you gotta do. Right? Because the ritual of that action is so strong that it amplifies your frequency to a level that's just like, ah! And that's all you gotta do. Right? That's the idea of repeatedly performing something, right? And the more you do it, you know, the better you get. The Pueblo Zuni guys have been doing that rain dance within their tribe hundreds of, who knows, thousands of years. Do you think, like, I mean, no offense to you guys, but do you guys think if you do a rain dance that you can make some rain? No. I've changed the weather. You'd be surprised. You gotta practice and do it and think and focus and amplify, right? But if you go out and just try and change the weather, don't be bummed, because it doesn't work. Think about the Pueblo Zuni guys. If you go and play guitar and you can't just like riff Eruption from Van Halen, don't be bummed, try again, right? Try and do it again. And then do it again, and then do it again. And then do it again. You guys know, I know I've said this before, but you guys know what the recipe for Kung Fu is? If you read the Shaolin manuals are like this thick. They're super tiny. And they'll say, like, for Iron Fist, it says punch beans, repeat 5,000 times. And then it says punch gravel, repeat 5,000 times. And then it says punch granite, repeat 5,000 times. And then you have Iron Fist. That's the recipe. That's it. So simple. A program for repetition to have a physical effect. Kung Fu is like a super good program of repetition that elicits a physical effect. Right? So what about shamans? How do they go about performing these rites? How do they go about doing these rituals? How can a shaman stand up and do a ritual and then all your disease is gone? How does that work, right? Well, and also you guys know they call medicine, what do you do with medicine? You practice medicine, right? You gotta practice, perform it. I wish more doctors would actually practice what they're doing. Maybe they'd be a little better at it. But they just read it in a book and then they do it. It's just like singing Led Zeppelin at karaoke. That's what the doctors are doing, right? They're not doing it. They're not performing it with their heart and their soul, right? The reason that a shaman can get up and perform a ritualistic healing is because they've already done death. They've already died. They've already gone through rebirth, death, all those rites, sometimes on community-wide levels, right? So they'll do it personally, they do it en masse, and then they do it culturally. So the reason a shaman has enough mojo to come to you if you're dying, sitting there dying in the bed, the atoms in the shaman's body have already done that. They've already practiced dying, and that's why they can now perform this ritual over you to prevent the death from heading your direction. Just like they can also make the rain clouds come or go in whatever direction they want, right? Do you guys know what they do when they do the rain dance? You guys know what do you guys think they're thinking about or doing? What are they practicing to change the weather? What do you think? What are they doing? They're practicing being rain, right? They're pretending that they are rain. In the majority of the tribes, there's a couple of different ways they do. Like in some of the stories, one of my favorites was in Europe, there was like these 3 dudes that would go from town to town, and they were the rainmakers, right? Just 3 guys, and they would all climb up in a tree, and one of the guys had flint stones, and he would just clap them together and make sparks. So it'd make lightning. There was another guy who would have like a sheet of, I know, it's so funny, right? It's so retarded. And another guy had like a sheet of metal, and he would just hit it with a stick to use thunder, right? Then they had another guy who had like a big bowl of water, and he would just like go like this. They were doing rain, they were being rain, they were acting like rain. And they were famous all over Europe for being reliable to be able to make rain come in this fashion. Because they were, making the flint and hitting the sheet with so much aggregated mojo, and 3 of them too, P.S., 3 triangle amplifier, funny, right? Not on accident. So that they could make the rain come. All they have to do is just show up, get in the tree, and do that, and then bam, there's the rain. Another popular method of witches and shamans throughout history was they would make themselves rain. So they would just prick their fingers and make themselves bleed with a conscious intention that they were raining, right? So that means, listen though, this is heavy, because you know what's happening inside your brain when you're doing that? You're pretending you're the universe. How many of you guys, can you guys pretend you're the universe for a second? You should do it all the time. No. They're pretending to be the universe, and then by their action of letting the blood fall from their fingers, they're being the rain, right? Now you guys can understand a little why some of those heavy metal bands have such a good effect, like the Norwegian ones that talk about the forest. Because they are the forest in that song. They are the wolves. Right? They're not messing around, those guys. They live in the forest. They live in the darkness. They are that thing. Do you guys think if someone in Pasadena made a black metal band that it would be as good as the guys in Norway? I don't know that that would be true. There are things that ritual is not, a lot of people think ritual is like faking. That because you're pretending, that you're just faking or messing around. But as I said before, that's not what the mojo accumulating in a rite is. It's not because you're faking it. That's not what makes it go. You have to be it. You have to be it. There's such a big difference. Even with things that you do, that you make. Like, how many of you musicians have played a song at a show, maybe, and you're just kind of disconnected from it, maybe not thinking about it, but then maybe you go on tour, and by the end of the tour, you have played that song so many times, you get up on the stage, and the thing just comes through you. You don't even have to try. You get up, and it's just like, and it just comes out. Because it flows. Because you have played that song every night for the past 4 weeks or 5 weeks or however long your tour is. You've done it over and over and over. This is one of my favorite times to see shows, you guys, is when they're at the leg of their tour. Like maybe they've gone off and then they come back to do their LA show. Have you guys ever seen those shows? And you go up there already like in outer space when they get on the stage. You know what I'm talking about? And they're so tight with each other. Because everyone has performed the rite so many times that they are the thing. And then how many of you guys have seen like a reunion show where the guys haven't seen each other for like years and it's just like, oh, this is terrible. Because they had like 2 practices before they did the show, and then you see them and it's like, oh, this is so embarrassing. It's okay, it happens to everybody. Don't feel bad if it's you. But that's the thing. It's like they're not in it. They haven't accumulated enough strength before going into it to make it go. Right? There's this really good hexagram in the I Ching. I don't know. Most of you guys know what the I Ching is, right? It's an ancient divination system from China. And there's a hexagram called hexagram 16. And some of the translations for it are providing for the future, or like riding an elephant. And the first time I read it, I was like, what is this hexagram? I don't understand. Sometimes it's called enthusiasm. And the picture of the old school, like Chinese, because you know Chinese words were pictures. They were like images. They weren't like a letter, you know. And it was a picture of this little kid packing up an elephant. Like getting all his stuff together and packing the elephant. And the meaning of that hexagram is, if you spend time preparing the thing now, when the moment comes for action, you can spontaneously react and just go, right? If he's got his elephant all geared up to go, when, you know, something happens, he's just like, oh, here I go, he can hop on his elephant and he's out, right? And there's this description in some of the translations that say, like, the reason you repeat, the reason you rehearse, the reason you prepare is so that you can respond spontaneously when that moment happens. When you get up on the stage and you grab a guitar, you can go because you just spent the last 10 years doing stupid scales or playing the song or whatever. It's all so that in that single isolated moment when you get up to perform the ritual, everything opens and goes, right? But without the rehearsal, without the practice, you get up and you're going to be like, hi guys, right? Kung Fu, same thing. The reason why you punch the beans 5,000 times, why you punch the stupid rocks, I punched canvas bags so many times my knuckles bled. But now I can punch them and you know what? I don't even break the skin. Because I have prepared, right? Prepared. The reason why you do that, when you're drunk at the bar and some guy takes a swing at you, you don't even think, you just top. And that's it, game over, right? It's not like, oh no, what's happening? There's none of that. It's what's up? Like a snake, right? You guys always see snakes are like chill, right? Are they like all tense, like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? Tiger. Tiger is like, what? Because they know at any moment, when the moment opens, what's up? And that's it. Because they are prepared. They have practiced, they have rehearsed, right? That performance of the right is what enables you to open your soul and allow reality to come in that moment when you want to do it. And if you do not have that, it is not going to work. Some people, it just happens to them no matter what. You guys have met these people, right? Maybe some of you guys are these people. Where they don't even have to try. Everything's awesome all the time, right? No matter what they do. Oh my God, I just found $100 on the street. I didn't have to work today, right? I don't have a job because everything just comes my way. There's those people too. And then there's those people that have to work at the same job every day, over and over. They gotta do the thing again and again. Some musicians, they're born, that's it. You guys got music from the get-go. Other people have to study and slave their whole lives with these teachers that are jerks that tell them what to do, and then they have to like deprogram themselves and then figure it out and then go. Right? There's all kinds of levels that happen within this. Some people are born shamans, some shamans are made. Right? There's all kinds of degrees. Just because you weren't born with that, like, you weren't born Mozart, right? Mozart had to practice too. It's that quote, right? We have to do. You could be born a Mozart in anything, but if you don't do it, guess what? Now the world gets no Mozart, right? So if you do have uber mojo kung fu stuff, and you do not perform the rites, you don't perform the rituals, you're going to miss out on your Mozart, right? Because that's the thing that's going to allow your soul to like burst forth, right? So we have to feed those things through practice. Because if you don't feed them, you don't do them, you could be Bruce Lee and you'll just be sitting around doing nothing, right? Do the rites, do the rituals, do the mojo to aggregate and accumulate that energy. Do you guys know why I do rituals? The reason that I do a ritual over and over, for me, is so that I can someday maybe have my soul be open in there every moment. All the time. Not just in that minute where I'm like meditating or doing a healing or doing a reading, going into magic time. I want it to be always, right? I want to be John Coltrane every moment of every day. And I want to repeat and rehearse the ritual enough times so that my soul can be like, ah, like always. Because how many of you guys have had an experience where you do that and you feel that for a moment? And then it just kind of goes like this again when it's done. That's like the worst ever. It's so hard. That's why life is so hard. Because you can have those moments where it's like everything opens and it's like, yeah, this is it. Everything's beautiful and it's like awesome. And then the moment is done and now the cycle goes. Now it's like the death cycle or it's whatever. And it goes in this wave, right? The magician is the one who can control themselves enough to elicit that soul response whenever they want, right? Like, I think ideally, if you're a true rainmaker, you should be like Eeyore, where the rain cloud just follows you always, right? That's the pinnacle of it. That's the kind of like truth of it. Where, like, for example, you know, you guys see those images of like Jesus or Buddha and they have a halo, right? Because once you reach that gong, that rite of passage, you've gone from kid now to grown up. Now you're like man, now you're like Superman, right? You're like regular, now you're like Jesus. There's no going back once you're like Jesus, right? And they have that halo around their head because now they're just like boing all the time. They don't have to sit there and go like, Our Father who art in heaven, because they've done it enough times where now it's like boing. Right? Or they're like born that way, like with Jesus, right? So now they're there to say like, hey, if you do this enough times, you can do it like this, right? And that's how you guys have all been inspired by something. You've seen something, like let's say, it's like when I was little, I would freak out over my mom's like Rembrandt books or like art books, and there's like these oil paintings, and I'm just like, oh, these are so beautiful. So as a little kid, I would like draw, and I'd be like, totally doesn't look like that. And I would recognize it in my brain, and I'd be like, oh, why can't I do that, right? And then my mom was so cool, my Scorpio mom, she's like, well, you just have to practice. Practice makes perfect. You gotta do it over and over. And then she teach me how to oil paint. And I remember I did my first oil painting, and it was the biggest mess ever. Oil painting is so hard. And then I did it again. And then I did it again. And then I did it again, right? And I do these paintings, and now my daughters look at them and they say, Mama, how did you make that painting? And I say, well, I just practiced a lot, right? Over and over and over again. And then you get to that level. And there are some things that can correspond with you harmonically that will take less effort. Some of the Mozarts, like if you correspond harmoniously with something, there's certain things that you'll do and you can just flow. And maybe you can get to that uber-duper master level a lot easier. Everybody has like their thing that they can do, right? Doesn't mean you can't do other things. You just have to work a lot harder at doing those other things. But if there's something that you have that harmony with, that sympathy with, your mojo can escalate a lot quicker, right? We all have different modalities. And how do you find those out? How do you guys find that out? You gotta do it. You gotta act. You gotta do the performance. Maybe you're like the best soccer player ever, but you have to actually play soccer, right? So that's how you find these things that are those pockets that can open your soul in that spot where you can just shine like crazy through acting. Usually, you know, you guys sniff them out sooner or later. We usually find these things. That's what's like super magical, right? Most of these things we kind of have an inkling towards. You can kind of be like, ooh, I like that. That's what I like. Or, oh, I like to do that, you know. Some people really like to do taxes. They love it. They're like, I love working for the IRS. This is my destiny. It's my thing. It's my right. Every day they do their numbers, right? And they're like, I love this. That's a ritual. A ritual does not have to have candles and boobs and skulls. A ritual can be a butcher. A ritual can be anything, but it's about the aggregation of mojo that you're putting into your action. Kung Fu can be anywhere. You can have baker Kung Fu. You can have quilter Kung Fu. Right? The gong in Kung Fu, do you guys know what gong is? Work. It's work. Do it over and over and over. Qi gong, qi is breath, gong is work. Practice breathing over and over and over, and you will aggregate that form. You can ritualize anything. Anything you do, every action you do can be ritualized. This is when you get crazy Jesus style. Right? And this is what I'm talking about, to get enough aggregated mojo where your soul is just busted open all the time, every day, every second. Right? When I moved here, I lived with my Hasidic friend, and I would notice like they ritualize as much stuff as they can. They go to the bathroom, like they say their prayer. They wash their hands, right? They put on their tzitzis, the way they prepare their hair. The preparation of everything becomes ritualized. Everything they prepare, the food. When you guys cook food and it's been prepared ritualistically with love, so much better than by some guy with like a smoke hanging out of his mouth complaining about his alcoholism. It's just true. It's true. It's better. Right? When you prepare yourself ritualistically to engage in anything, I promise it's going to be better than if you don't. If you ritualistically prepare yourself before you go see a friend, your parents, your lover, you're going to open up your soul before you go and talk to that person. You can do a ritual act to open your soul before you engage in any activity that you're going to do. From brushing your teeth, to going to the bathroom, to reading a book. And then your whole business is engaged. You're doing it harmonically with all the aspects of your being, not just your meat suit. Right? So think about, what do you guys think about how the energy would aggregate if you did every action of just like one day just ritualistically for one day? Here's some homework. You guys want some homework? For one day, and it's hard because you're going to forget. We're so stupid. Right? You'll be like, oh, I forgot. Okay, ritual. Here we go, ritual, go. Right? So for one day, see if you can keep your mind and your concentration focused on everything you do. Do it with an amplification, with a ritualization. That's only one day. From the time your little peeper is open in the morning until you go to sleep. Right? Try and hold it through the whole day. Because if you can hold it in a moment, this is the trick. This is what's so good about those ritual moments and performing ritual and doing ritual. If you never do it at all, if you never do a single thing that opens your soul ever in your whole life, right? But if you can do it in a moment, you can do it whenever you want. Theoretically, right? Like, if you can make it rain once, you can probably do it again. Right? It's not easy, and everybody has their bummers. Like, just because you can have one music show that goes so good and everything's on and everything is just like, duh, it doesn't mean every single show is going to be that way, but it means that it can. And once you've done that, then you know now you have this program, right? You got the Stairway to Heaven program, archetypally infused in you through performing, through doing. through being, right? That is a part of you now. And you can access that place whenever you want. That's a secret. You can open and access, like, you guys think about the best, most magical moment of your life ever. Do you guys all have that moment? Do you guys all remember that moment? Everyone should have it like at the tip of their tongue, right? You can implement that program anytime you want to. It's really good to do in terrible, terrible times when terrible, terrible things are happening. If you guys are ever involved in a horrible situation, try and think of that and amplify yourself to that thing. Because then it helps, right? It helps. Because ritual and rites of someone who has accumulated mojo are contagious. They're contagious through sympathy. Just like the shaman can get you out of death because he's already died, he's now contagiously given you his living. You've caught his living from him. How many of you guys have ever been to like see a sports show or like a football game and you see these people in the audience when the guy goes to kick the ball, they do the kick? It's monkey see, monkey do. So when someone has accumulated, this is like what I love about magic, right? There's that transference through sympathy, through harmony. When you're in accord with somebody, you guys can all get to that place, like in a moment. Like, how many of you guys have ever seen Amaji, right? Yeah, so she'll be sitting there. Amaji is like the hugging saint. She hugs people. Okay, there was one time on record, she hugged 72,000 people. 72,000 people. Can you guys even imagine high-fiving that many people in a row? She picked them all up like they were babies and hugged them, like grown men, 200 pounds, whatever. Hugged them all. Didn't stop to go to the bathroom or have water or eat or anything. Okay? She's pretty cool. So she'll show up and she'll be in her chair, and there's people, they just sit in front of her. They don't even go up and touch her or anything. They just want to hang out in the room that Amaji is in so that they can contagiously receive her right. Because she has done it so many times. She's hugged people and loved people so many times. And now just even sitting there, she is hugging and loving. She has done the thing so many times and now she is the thing. So she can just be there and then you can like absorb the thing from her. And how many of you guys have been in a room with someone that you contagiously caught what they had? Yeah, right? Whether it's a bad mood, a good mood, a cold, whatever. We influence each other tragically, drastically, wonderfully, in many, many ways. Right? Monkey see, monkey do. So you can catch these things from people with accumulated mojo. What if you take guitar lessons from Robert Plant as opposed to taking guitar lessons from like the guy from Hanson or whatever? You might be able to play the guitar better if you take them from Robert Plant, just because you're sitting in front of his rights, right? So you can aggregate and accumulate them. I'm always busting on Hanson. Sorry, Hanson. So you guys know, if you ritualistically practice loving, love will go stronger every time you do it. If you ritualistically practice anger, every time you get angry, it will accumulate force and momentum. Right? If you love the first time and it doesn't work, it's disastroso. Do you think that means you should never love again? It's like playing Stairway to Heaven, right? Pick up your guitar and do it some more. Do it again. Do it over. Increase your mojo for love so much that your heart, the love in your heart has been amplified so much that now you can love everything all the time. Right? That's like Jesus style. When you can ritualistically perform those kinds of things in yourself and then take it to a community. take it to a community and say, hey, you guys, how about if we all ritualistically perform love together? Right? And then how about if you put it in a cultural context, right? Amplification. Amplification. So good. How many of you guys have ever like played at a show or done a performance and you ask the audience to get involved? Like you guys, everybody knows like Def Leppard, right? They're all like, they do the mic and then everyone goes, pour some sugar on me. I don't know why that's what came to my head. But like, you know, so when they do that, what happens? Now, everybody's performing in the rite and the ritual. It's not just the musician up on the stage. Now, ooh, they just amplified it. They amplified it with the voices of everybody in the audience that has the same program. They all have the same program that they're playing together, and now they're all saying it together. Now everybody's like hearts just broke through their chest. And they're all going to talk about it for like the next 3 years. Do you remember that concert when everybody sang together? Because that's what we talk about, right? When that kind of thing happens. When you're like, oh my God, do you remember when everybody was all doing that thing at the same time? Because that's how it goes. That's consciousness. You guys know consciousness comes from consensus. Consensus. A shared experience. A harmonious shared experience, right? So when you guys do ritual, think about amplifying through harmony whatever action it is that you're trying to recount, that you're trying to tell, that you're trying to enumerate. Any of those things you want to organize into a rite, no matter what it is, can be absolutely anything. Anything that you perform. Make sure that you include that in it, and you're going to amplify. You're going to amplify. And if you ritualistically love, if you ritualistically feel, that's like the best chance we got, I think. Right? It's a good way to go. So thanks, you guys. That's all I have for today.